Hi, welcome to Gary's Hobby Studio. In this video, I am going over Proxmox 8. I'm going to install it, and then I'm going to show some of the features that I remember from watching the Proxmox video tutorial on their page. Just because the fact is that it's going to show some things different. I haven't upgraded any of my servers yet, because I do want to play with this for a little bit before I do, because I want to see if there's possibly any issues. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch that to full screen, which really didn't make it any bigger. And I'm going to try using Ventoy on this. It was a tool that I found from watching another YouTuber. I want to say it's the guy that does My Playhouse. I can't think of his name. And he's over in Denmark. And this was a really neat tool because instead of having to write, I think there's some ISOs that I have that don't like this and it doesn't work this way. But instead of having to write it to a flash drive, you can just put the ISO on the section that it has, and then you could just select it from a list. Like I could do CentOS, Clonezilla, DaVinci Resolve, because they have their own thing, which is another thing I want to test out on a couple of laptops. But we are going, and I still got to add, did I add 12 to this? Adding 12, yeah. Sorry about that, I just wanted to check something. So I have Proxmox backup server, and I'm going to be doing a test with it too, hopefully. I don't know why that won't. Okay, I'm using Java 6, and it takes forever, so we're going to go ahead and start that. Okay. And it gives you a couple of different choices. I don't remember if 7 gives you the console. They demoed that you could do it that way, and the way I look at it is I'd rather do it graphically than through the console. And I think, I don't know why this console takes so long to respond. Yeah, there's like rescue boot and stuff like that, so yeah, we're not gonna do that. Escape to go back. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the graphical install. I'm installing this on my Dell R710 because I'm no longer using it because I've got the Dell 730 in its place. The Dell 730 is really nice, and there will be some further upgrades coming soon. As soon as I can afford them. Because I'm going to max out its processors to 22 cores each. That'll be 44 threads total. And that'll be 88 virtual CPU cores to Proxmox, which will be awesome. I will show you the more than likely, probably because it's, yeah. Ugh. Can't do it full screen because it decides to, oh no, we're going to hide everything. Okay, so basically I striped 3 disks together. Hopefully they're mirrored. I did a RAID 50, which I'm assuming is that. I could be wrong. I didn't look it up. It wouldn't do a RAID 10 with 3, because I'd rather stripe 3 and then mirror those 3 to the other 3, but that's neither here nor there. Now, you can hit the options here as soon as my mouse cursor decides to move. There we go. And you could leave it as ext4, which is that, or if you want, like if you have an actual RAID controller, that allows you to pass disks through, then you could select any of these ZFS. You could do BTRFS if that's the case. But considering I'm using the Dell and it's unflashed, we're just going to leave it at the ext4. So then we click Next, United States, and oh my God, this is painful. I'm using Windows XP because I have no choice, really. So you want to set your time zone. I'm on the East Coast. Definitely want my English, or the keyboard layout to be English. You can change that to whatever one that you want. God, this is slow. Okay. And now I have to come up with a super secretive password. It's going to be... Okay, and it won't let you do that without a email, so we'll put there. I can't pass this to, I can't use, but ugh, I hate VirtualBox sometimes. $10.50. Okay, so we have all that set up. Well, I want to change the host name. Okay, so this is going to install. And when I was seeing the video, it was showing that, like, it'll warn you if you don't have virtualization turned on or anything of the kind. So it's neat that it actually tells you that, because I don't think, I mean, it might have, but then again, for me, I might have already had virtualization turned on prior to this version, because I'll probably try to demonstrate one thing that I know is not available on this server, because it's a different revision, and that's PCIe pass-through, because it's probably going to tell me that it's not there. It'll be interesting to see if it is, because it will shock me. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, because this looks like it's going to take a little bit, and then I'll come back once it's done. Okay, and as you can see, it's taken on the dark mode, which is nice, because before it wouldn't do it. So now that we have it installed, the first thing is that there's the defaults, the new default CPU type. So you would come over here, like you've seen in my past video when I went over installing Proxmox 7, and you would give it a name. I'm just going to give it EHS Test 1, and click Next. We're going to have, I'm just going to do that because I don't have the the NAS set up so that it'll pull up the ISO files. And I'm just going to leave it at Linux right now. So we click next, and we'll just leave all this the same, except for we'll turn on the QEMU agent. This, we'll just leave it at 32. In case if I do want to use it for something, I'm going to go ahead and set some options. Now, when you hit CPU, you'll notice here, it says x86-64v2 AES. And it's supposed to improve performance over the QEMU one. And you can see that they have like these other ones too, which I don't know, and I would have to look at Proxmox 7, because I haven't upgraded my regular main servers, because I want to try this out a little bit. And it seems that they're adding like CPU support to emulate, which is nice, because it probably would improve performance. I mean, it goes back to the old Pentium days, which is nice, you know, for stuff that's that old. But see, it's supposed to be better than the QEMU 64 that it would default to. So, I mean, that's a nice addition to it. It'll be interesting to test it out, and it'll be interesting to gauge the performance on my production systems that I run in my house, if it actually helps anything with it or not. And then the memory, I'll just leave it at that. I can always change it later. Network, there's only one, because this is on my new my old 710. And then you would just go over here, you could click on Start After Created, and then you hit Finish. And then it should create the VM, and you'll see it right there. And it'll be interesting to try that out. Another thing that I'm assuming that they've improved upon it, but I don't use it. But if anybody out there does, they've supposedly improved the Ceph. Says Ceph is currently not installed on this node, which I'm not going to install it because I'm not sure what it is. And general rule of thumb is if you've been using Proxmox and never used it, 9 times out of 10 you don't need it. But I'm sure if it works out for people, I want to say, and I could be wrong about it, is that I think it tries to do a similar thing that like ZFS does, like stripes drives together and has redundancy in that. If you want to try that, and if you're, because I don't know if it's the same as ZFS, where ZFS you can't use a hardware RAID controller. You might be able to with it, because again, I don't know that much about it, and I'm not trying to profess. I'm just guessing, because like I said, I've seen it. I think people have talked about it, and I'm just like, it doesn't sound like I'm going to need it, so there's no point in me using it. I do recommend that you set this to the no subscription. Otherwise, it's going to ask you for the key. So I'm not going to install that. And then there's Realm Sync. I don't know if that's in the... because here's like Ceph here. I want to say it's here in the users. But if it is in the users, which I want to say it is, basically, and I'm not exactly sure where the here it is. This is for if you want to connect this to your Active Directory or LDAP servers for authentication. So this way you have the root account, or you can disable it and create a secondary one that's not the root account in case if it gets compromised or something like that. And supposedly the sync for the Realm Sync is supposed to be a lot better, where you don't have to manually do it now. It'll actually automatically do it. Again, considering the fact that this is just me and my wife, and it's just the two of us, I don't connect it. I may look into it and see if it's worthwhile to use. If not, I probably won't. It just depends. Then there's VNet permissions, and I'm not exactly sure where that is when I saw the video. Yeah, let's just search the options. Yay. um, yeah, I'm not exactly sure where the VNet permissions are, and I'm not sure what they do. I know there was about resource mapping, and I'm assuming this is a way to help, kind of like with PCI pass-through, USB, and other resources, you can map them to specific VMs. Like, let's see, let's pick something stupid. Because this one doesn't have PCI pass-through. So I'm trying to pick something. And we'll just do this USB hub controller. And, you can give it some kind of name like best USB with devices. So we'll create that. Mapping matches host data. And I'm assuming if I go to hardware here. Okay, so basically, I was hoping that adding that group, I was trying to see if there was any kind of info here, but it didn't show up that group for that resource mapping. Because when you hit that, it doesn't show there. And don't know why I did that. And if I hit here, it just shows what's connected. I have a Dell keyboard and an Abio sent USB part for that. And then if we do this, it still shows the same thing. So, but I'm sure it helps you map the resources to different, helps you map the resources better, I'm assuming. I don't even know where that was now. Oh, I think it's up here in the data center. Yeah. So it's just, like I said, I'm sure it'll help. Oh, that's probably why, because I don't have IOMMU. But this way, like I said, you could group things by device, and it probably would show up in that, but because I didn't do the IOMMU, that's probably why it's not showing up. And VNet permissions, I wonder if that's in the networking. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. That could also be here too. That's for HA. But anyway, yeah, I'm not sure about the VNet. The resource mapping will be interesting to play with because I'm going to have at least 2 graphics cards in my primary virtual server. I can stick one in the other one in the 420 because there's only 2 card slots, and one of them has a full size fiber card, and the other one's just a half height, which I can get. I can get a couple of cards half height. I had a problem with the 620 in the 420, but it's been working fine in the 730, so I'll probably just leave it there and get a different one. I have to test out something for that to work. But those are like some of the new features of it that has my curiosity really piqued, especially that CPU selection. I definitely want to try that out once I upgrade my 2 virtual servers that are for my actual network and everything, and just see if it actually increases the performance or not. And I'm not sure. Let's switch back over. I want to see that, like, if it's already existing, if you can change it. Yeah, you can. And you can play around with some other settings here too. You know, there's all kinds of extra settings like for AES but the 2 features that I really want to mess with the most is the resource mapping. Because if it works out, I want to put at least 2 more graphics cards in there, because I can have a total of 4 in there as long as the CPUs stay under a certain wattage and the cards don't exceed 150 watts each. I can have 4 graphics cards in there, which would be nice because I have a couple of things I wanna do. One is my Plex server, which I just changed that over to Debian and got hardware acceleration working on it. The other is I want to get I want to set up TDAR to help compress the video file sizes on my storage units, so that way it'll do it and help save drive space. Because we all know how expensive hard drives are and crap like that, especially after all the ones I put into there. But other than that, that is Proxmox 8. Like I said, the Realm Sync I may mess with, just because I do run Active Directory domain controllers. I got to learn about it because I've never linked anything, and I've got a couple of other virtual machines and Docker containers of stuff that I have that I could link to AD, and I want to look into that before I do it, because I don't want to link to it after that, and then all of a sudden I screw up and I can't even get into the apps, and then I have to do it all over again, because that would, especially how many times I had to do the Plex just to get it to work with hardware acceleration. Because it was a royal pain. But there's the Realm Sync I'm curious about. The CPU type I'm definitely going to change on a lot of those and just see if it'll improve the performance, because my VMs, and it could just be me, they kind of seem to me a little sluggish at times. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I see the CPU meter pegging pretty high. So maybe that might help, might not. Might make a difference, might not. Might just be, because that's going to be something else I'm going to look at too. And I'm definitely curious on the resource mapping, especially with having 4 graphics cards, and just see what I can do with that. But yeah, that's Proxmox 8. If you like it, go ahead and get it. Play around with it. Try it out. I would not change your current servers until you play around with it and get a feel for it. Even though the interface and everything does look like the existing 7, it's just, you don't, because like I said, I'm not in a hurry to jump to 8, just because I want to make sure on some things first before I do that kind of crazy crap and update it. Because I don't know what it entails, and I have to look into the whole upgrade process, because I know there's this command, I think it's PVEV28, that I have to run, and it has to check everything. If anything, I'll probably decide to do it after a backup. That way it has the most current backup, and then do it on one at a time, like do it on I'll probably do it on the 420 first, then do it on the 730. But other than that, if you have any questions or anything, comments, leave them down below. And as I always like to say, have a good day, guys. Take care and see you later.